ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر. قال كثير من المفسرين أي العمل فيها خير من العمل في ألف شهر ليس فيها ليلة القدر. واختار هذا الفراء والزجاج وغيرهم. They say, the Mufassirun say that when Allah says the Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 nights, it means the deeds you do in this night are worth more than the deeds you would perform in 1,000 months, which is about 83 years or so. Okay. Now the thing is, for my own curiosity, I actually tried to look up the average lifespan. The average lifespan in the United States for women at its peak is 80, and at its peak for men is 74. Okay? So Allah goes beyond our average lifespan to offer us one night where we can take control and actually earn good for an entire lifespan in that month. It's a very powerful thing that Allah Azza wa Jal offered to us. You know, in much of the Muslim world, some places the average lifespan is 40. The average lifespan is 30. Some places, even starving nations, 33. The lifespan is very, very short. For those places, Allah is offering them twice their lifespan per year of good deeds. What a mercy! The surah began. What will give you a clue what Laylatul Qadr is? Something we could never even have earned. And this is where we find the hadith or the narration that's attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. رَأَى أَعْمَارَ أُمَّتِهِ قَصِيرًا. He saw that the age of the members of his ummah is short. فَخَافَ أَنْ لَا يَبْلُغُ مِنَ الْعَمَلِ مِثْلَ مَا بَلَغَ غَيْرَهُمْ فِي طُولِ الْعَمَرِ. Umar actually. He says, the messenger was afraid that his ummah's members are going to have short lives, they're going to not live that long. So he was afraid that the people who came before had much longer lives, and so they got a chance to earn even much more good deeds. So he had that fear, so Allah as a gift gives to him Laylatul Qadr. So they can catch up, the members of his ummah can catch up and be actually even ahead of all of the other nations, because imagine if one takes advantage of Laylatul Qadr every single year. Let's just say for 10 years, right? For 10 years. That's a good millennium that you've got in your favor. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us appreciate what this night is. Then others say this khayrun min alfi shahr, is that you can do more good, you can accomplish more good in this night than you would be able to in others, not just in terms of ibadah, but in reconciliation. Meaning the barakah of your deeds in this night is unlike any other. So a lot of ulama, based on that, said, if you have problems with your family, if you've been fighting with your wife, if you haven't talked to your brother in 10 years, when should you call them? When should you make it up? When should you say, oh, he's going to yell at me and hang up on me? No, take your chances which night? On Laylatul Qadr. You know, bury the hatchet, move on, reconcile family ties. The good that will come out of this night is unlike any other night. So take advantage of that, because Allah does use the word khayr. Khayrun min alfi shahr. Then he didn't even say ka alfi shahr, it is like 1,000 months. He said it's better. It's better. So what that tells us, and this is a few statements of the Arabs, I should have stated all of you. وَقِيلْ أَرَادَ بِقَوْلِهِ أَلْفَ شَهْرٍ جَمِيعُ الدَّهْرِ. And it's said also among Mufassirun that by Allah saying 1,000 months, He means all time. لِأَنَّ الْعَرَبِ تَذْكُرُ أَلْفَ شَهْرٍ فِي كَثِيرٍ مِنَ الْأَشْيَاءِ عَلَى طَرِيقِ الْمُبَالَغَةِ. The Arabs used to mention 1,000 months in a lot of their statements as a means of hyperbole, meaning for all time. Like they'll say to somebody, I'm going to be your friend for 1,000 months. That doesn't mean that at the end of 1,000 months I'm no longer your friend. What that means is, in English literature we say, I'm going to be your buddy forever and ever and ever. That sort of talk, hyperbolized talk, their expression was 1,000 months. So Allah, by using that expression, yes, some ulama did make the calculation of how many days it comes down to and how many salawat and all of that. That may be true, but in addition, it actually has this infinity kind of context in it, or that power in it, because of the word khayr, and also because alf-shahr is used as an expression among the Arabs. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. This is the heaviest ayah of the surah. It has a lot of beautiful subtleties in it. We'll take one bit by bit by bit. One of the things that I want to help you appreciate about this ayah before the tafsir of it is the literary marvel in it. The Quran, we always say, is precise speech. It's precise speech. And what I want to illustrate to you today is Quran is so precise that it's precise down to the way a word is spelled. Down to the way a word is spelled, it's precise. And that's something humanly not capable for us. In English, have you ever heard the word demo? Demo? What's the full version? Demonstration. right? Demonstration. Similarly, if I say math, what's the full version? Mathematics, right? Biology, that sort of thing. Now, sometimes you use the short version and sometimes you use the long version. But everybody who speaks a language knows they mean one and the same thing. I'm studying math, I'm studying mathematics, same thing, okay? I saw the demo, I saw the demonstration, same thing, okay? The Arabic, sort of like this, a parallel, it's not exactly the same thing, but there's a parallel to it. In Arabic, there's a way you can spell a word in its full form and also in its partial form, okay? There are many ways to do that. One of those ways is what's called al-idgham fi as-sarf. What I'm trying to get at is, in Arabic there's a word, tatanazzalu. Tatanazzalu. That's the actual word. How many tas did you hear? Tatanazzalu. 2. You can actually, you have the leisure in Arabic to drop one of those tas, because it's redundant, and you can just say what instead? Tanazzalu. You can just say tanazzalu. Both of them mean the same thing. The only difference is, one is the brief version, one is the full version. Similarly, tafarraqu, tatafarraqu, tadhakkaru, tatadhakkaru. The meaning doesn't change. The meaning doesn't change. But in the Quran, it's remarkable, even though the meaning doesn't change, the Arabic rhetoricians, in Old Arabic, the more you use a word, or the more spelled out the word is, it alludes to more in meaning. There's something more about this spelling than the lesser spelling. What I'm trying to get at is the ayah says, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Tanazzalu. How many tas did you hear? 1 ta. Let me take you another ayah. This is Hamim as-Sajda. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. How many tas did you hear this time? 2 tas. In one place, same thing. Angels are coming down here, angels are coming down there. But here he says, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. There he said, تَتَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. A little bit more. Now, rhetorically speaking, the ulama, like Ash-Sha'arawi rahimahullah, Fadl Salih As-Samir-Ra'i and others, they comment, when you add the ta, when you keep the full spelling, there's something more about this context than the other. Now, let me tell you about Hamim Sajda, where the 2 tas occur. تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. This is the ayah talking about angels descending at the time of death. The angels descend at the time of death. How often do they descend then? How often does that happen? Every day, every minute, virtually, angels are descending at the time of death. The ayah we're about to read, angels come down also, but when do they come down? Laylatul Qadr. Is that happening every night? How often is it happening? Is it happening more or less than the other ayah? It's happening way less. What's happening in Laylatul Qadr, by comparison, is much less than what's happening in the ayah in Hamim as-Sajda. That is the place to mention more, so more is used in the spelling. تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. This is the context of less, by comparison, so the lesser spelling form is used. Think about that. The Messenger ﷺ didn't read the Quran to the people, he recited it. To the disbeliever, this was just speech, this wasn't writing. Can you be conscious of what you said years ago or what you're going to say years later? Compared to that, maybe I should use one less ta here and one more ta there because it'll fit better? You think that's even possible for us? SubhanAllah. Just that ta, 1 ta in the ayah, in and of itself is a miracle. In and of itself shows the precision and marvel of the Quran, and this occurs all over the Quran. The difference between tadhakkaru and tatadhakkaru, tatafarraqu and tafarraqu. These subtle differences are actually big things in how we appreciate the subtlety of the text. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. We talked a little bit about the word تَنَزَّلُ. We'll look at one more comment by Al-Biqa'i rahimahullah about that word. He says, تَنَزَّلُ أي تنزلا متدرجا هو أصلا على غاية ما يكون من الخفة والسرعة بما أشار إليه حذف التاء. What that essentially means is, in simple English, the missing ta. Remember I told you it could be 2 tas, but Allah only uses 1, as opposed to the ayah in Surat Hamim as-Sajda or Surat Fussilat. That 1 ta indicates that the angels come down very, very fast. So the word is pronounced quicker, and so the action is given a speedy connotation also. This is part of the rhetoric of the Arabic language. So in the angels, by the word tanazzalu in the ayah as opposed to tatanazzalu, we learn that the angels come down secretly and very, very quickly in this night. Then an interesting nuance in the language. And this is something that, again, a casual reading of the Quran you won't notice. But a careful reading of the Quran, as some of our great ulama have done, they pick up on these things. In the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions al-malaika wal-ruh. the angels, and ar-ruh. Ar-ruh referring to, like we said before, Jibreel alayhi salam. This occurs in a number of places. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. Surah Al-Ma'arij, he says, تعرج الملائكة والروح إليه في يوم كان مقداره 50 ألف سنة. So this idea of malaika and ruh. But there's one place in the Quran, in Surah Al-Naba, he reverses the sequence. He says, يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة. So usually he says malaika wa ruh. But in one place he says, instead of the angels and the ruh, or Jibreel, he says Jibreel and the angels. So he switches the order. This sequencing in the Quran is also very subtle and something very beautiful about the Quran. We learn, from the way verbs are used with the angels, a lot of verbs that are used with the angels are associated with movement. So for example, وَلَوْ أَنَّنَا نَزَّلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. When we send the angels down, this is also movement. أَنْ يُمِدَّكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ بِثَلَاثَةِ آلَافٍ مِّنَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ مُنْزَلِينَ. That angels will be coming down. Allah says, هَلْ يَنظُرُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَأْتِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظُلَلٍ مِّنَ الْغَمَامِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرِ. Are they waiting till the time when Allah Himself descends from the clouds and the angels descend? Verbs that are used for angels or in the context of angels in the Quran, they're usually verbs of movement. Some action is taking place. But when we find this discussion about Jibreel alayhi salam, we find interesting language that's to the contrary. We find, for example, Allah Azza wa Jalla says about him, عِنْدَ ذِي الْعَرْشِ مَكِينٌ. Stationed. Now in these ayat, the one we're reading, تَنَزَّلُ, coming down, is that movement? This is movement. In Surah Al-Ma'arij, تَعْرُجُ, they rise up, they fly up, that's also movement. But in Surah Al-Naba we read, يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الرُّوحُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ, the day on which ar-ruh and malaika stand still. Is that movement or not? That's not movement, it's standing still. And that, what's more associated with the stillness or the stationary is Jibreel alayhi salam, because he's got that station under the arsh, right? So when that stationary word is used, Jibreel alayhi salam is mentioned first. When movement is mentioned, the angels are mentioned first. This is part of the subtlety and beauty of the Quran. So here we find تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْرُوحُ فِيهَا, in it the angels and ar-ruh, Jibreel alayhi salam, descend. And this is again something of the honor of this night. Who brings the Quran down? It's Jibreel alayhi salam. And in this night, that angel that was responsible for delivering revelation, he himself also comes down. That's a big deal. That every single year, Jibreel alayhi salam repeats his sunnah, which started with him coming down for the revelation of the Quran itself. So that's in and of itself is what gives this night an enormous honor. Let's talk a little bit now about the next part, بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ. So the angels come down. We talked about the word coming down, the sequence of angels and the ruh in this night. But now بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ, the literal translation of which is by permission of their master. They come down by the permission of their Lord, their master. We'll read a Shawkani rahimahullah, amazing commentary on it. And also, actually, what I'll read to you first is from Dr. Simon Ra'i rahimahullah, or Jazahullah khair. قِيلَ الْمَلَائِكَ يَشْتَاقُونَ لِرُؤْيَةِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. It is said that the angels are looking forward desperately to see the believers on the earth. فَيَسْتَأْذِنُونَ رَبَّهُمْ فِي هَذِهِ اللَّيْلَةِ. So they seek permission of their Lord in this night. لِيُسَلِّمُوا عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So they may say salam to the believers. يَسْتَأْذِنُونَهُ فَيُؤْذَنُ لَهُمْ. They seek His permission and permission is given to them. So what does the ayah say? By the permission of their Lord. What are they asking permission for? To meet and greet the believers who are worshipping Allah on the earth. Those whom Allah has given an opportunity to worship Him that would count for 1,000 months. Who are these people? And the angels are like desperately wanting to meet and honor these people. You know how you get like an all-access pass to meet a celebrity? Right? Or you get to see the president at the press conference or something. Or you've been invited by the dean of the college or whatever. The angels hold the believers in this high regard that they ask Allah's permission to come and see them. To come and send salams upon them. And that's where we find at the end of the surah what? Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. That's one of the meanings of that salam, that the angels come and descend, salam and peace upon the believers. Subhanallah. So, ما عظمة هذه الليلة يستأذنون ربهم لزيارة أهل الأرض والسلام على المؤمنين فيؤذن لهم. فَيَنْتَزِلُونَ. So subhanAllah, when the permission is given to them, they descend rapidly and quickly to bring that salams to them. So this was the next part, بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ. Now we come to the last part of the ayah, مِن كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. مِن تُفِيدُ التَّعْلِيلِ أَحْيَانًا كَمَا فِي قَوْلِهِ مِمَّا خَطِيئَاتِهِمْ أُغْرِقُوا. In Surah Al-Nuh, Allah says min, مِمَّا خَطِيئَاتِهِمْ. Because of their mistakes, they were drowned. The people of Nuh, he says, مِمَّا خَطِيئَاتِهِمْ. Because of their mistakes, they were drowned. Min in Arabic is commonly translated as from in English. Right? Min, min aina anta, where are you from? Right? So min is translated as from. But in classical Arabic, it has multiple usages. One of them is, min is harf ajal. What that means is, instead of from, the translation becomes because of. So min kulli amr here, if you look at it as harf ajal, what the meaning becomes is, because of every single command. Because of every single command that Allah has issued to them for that year, to initiate that process, they descend on that day. And also min kulli amr implies because of all sorts of commands. And this is explained in the beginning of Surah Al-Dukhan. In Surah Al-Dukhan, فِيهَا يُفْرَقُ كُلُّ أَمْرٍ حَكِيمٍ. On that day, meaning on Laylatul Qadr, also mentioned in Surah Al-Dukhan, there it's not called Laylatul Qadr, there it's called Laylatun Mubarakah, a blessed night. Okay? There Allah says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the angels descend and they have been given responsibility, divided up all sorts of wise decisions that Allah Himself has given to them. And you know, whenever Allah mentions angels coming down with the command of Allah, He makes sure we understand where did the command come from? From Allah Himself. So, بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ. They're أَمْرًا مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا, a command that comes especially from us. Why mention Himself especially? I know we understand the commands are from Allah and the angels come to execute them. We understand that. But why specifically mention Allah? Because on the earth, a lot of religions are based on shirk first with the angels. Look at Catholicism, for example. They call on certain angels. They call on certain, instead of worshiping Allah, they worship and call on for help, they call on certain angels. A lot of the pagan traditions, they took the true beliefs that Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah Azza wa Jalla has, for example, the angel assigned for mountains. That angel came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on the occasion of Taif. Right? He came, but the power to move the mountains comes from the angel or comes from Allah? Comes from Allah. But when shirk occurs, what do people do? The God of mountains, and the God of this, and the God of that. Originally it was the angel, and the understanding wasn't clear that the power actually comes from Allah. And what did people start doing? Giving credit to the angels themselves for having such powers. But no, the power itself comes from Allah. So whenever Allah talks about the descent of angels for anything, He makes sure you understand the actual blessing isn't the angel, the actual blessing is Allah Azza wa Jalla. Here also, بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. By the permission of their master, subhanallah. So من كل أمر أي الأمور الكلية التي يفرقون بها بإذن الله تفاصيل الأمور التي يريدها سبحانه وتعالى في ذلك العام في أوقاتها من تلك الليلة إلى مثلها من العام المقبل. What this simply means is, and this is again the commentary of Biqa'i rahimahullah, the angels come with all the commands that Allah has issued them for them to be executed from this night to the repetition of this night the next year. سَلَامٌ هِيَ حَتَّى مَطْلَعِ الْفَجْرِ. Some have taken salam to be part of the previous sentence. مِن كُلِّ أَمْرٍ salam. In every single decision Allah makes on that night, there is peace. And every single decision that's executed, there is peace and solitude. قد تم الكلام عند قوله من كل أمر ثم ابتدأ فقال سلام هي أي ما هي إلا سلامة وخير كلها لا شر فيها. What he's saying is, on this night there's absolutely no evil whatsoever. When Allah Azza wa Jalla send the angels down on this night, in every single thing they do, there is only peace. In other nights there is peace also, but there's peace and also there's what? Violence and other things happen. Punishments can come too. But not on this night. This night is entirely peace. This night is entirely peace. The way it's salamun hiya hatta matla' al-fajr, let's roughly translate it before we go into the interpretations. It is peace. Peace it is. Peace it is probably closer translation, until the break of dawn, the break of Fajr. Now, the first interpretation we're going to look at is هي ذات سلامة من أن يؤثر فيها شيطان من في مؤمن أو مؤمنة. This is a night of absolute peace in which there is no intervention of the shayateen. This opinion of the ulama has been considered weak by others because we know in the month of Ramadan who's already chained anyway. The shayateen are chained anyway. So that's sort of a redundant statement. Mujahid rahimahullah says that this is a night in which even no human being can truly embark on any evil task. Then others say, Ash-Sha'bi says, for example, huwa taslimul malaika ala ahlil masajid. May Allah make us from them. Allah calls it salam because it's the night in which the angels are constantly saying salam to the people of the masajid, the people who spend their night in the masajid. This is the opinion of Ash-Sha'bi rahimahullah. حين تغيب الشمس إلى أن يطلع الفجر, until from the setting of the sun until the break of dawn. They يمرون على كل مؤمن ويقولون السلام عليك أيها المؤمن. They pass by every single mu'min and they say to him, may peace be upon you, O believer. You know, in a long narration that's captured in the Ibn Kathir, we're not going to go into the narrations of the blessings of Laylatul Qadr, but just a paraphrase, you should read up on it yourselves. This entire battalion of angels, Jibreel alayhi salam descends, and then and all of them descend at one time, and they go into every single masjid, go into every single believer, and they go and send salam upon them, and they make dua for them. It's an amazing, amazing hadith. That long journey these angels take, for what purpose in the end? To send salam upon the believers. SubhanAllah. It's such an honor that Allah gives to the believers on this night. I'm going to take the position of Ash-Shawkani rahimahullah when it comes to just commenting on those narrations. وَالْأَحَادِيث فِي فَضْلِ لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ كَثِيرًا. The ahadith that talk about the blessings of Laylatul Qadr are many. وَلَيْسَ هَذَا مَوْضِعُ بَسْطِهَا وَكَذَلِكَ الْأَحَادِيث فِي تَعْيِينِهَا وَالْإِخْتِلَافِ فِي ذَلك. And just similarly, there are many narrations in where it's actually placed, and what night it's actually considered Laylatul Qadr, and the differences of opinion among them. This is really not the place to discuss those. But I do want to show you how beautifully the surah is tied together. The surah began with the descent of the Qur'an. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. Then the angels descend. Then peace descends. Three things descend in this surah. The Qur'an itself, the angels, and then peace. Until the time of Fajr. Now what's the best time to recite Qur'an? Which time of the recitation of Qur'an is actually a witness for us? Allah mentions Fajr at the end, right? Allah says in Surah Al-Isra, He says, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ وَإِلَى غَسَقِ اللَّيْلِ وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا. Allah at the end, He says, establish the prayer morning and night, and especially Qur'an of the Fajr. He didn't even call it prayer of Fajr. What did He call it? Qur'an of Fajr. No doubt the Qur'an of Fajr of that time is going to be a witness for you. It began with Qur'an. We sent it down. And it ends with a time in which when you recite Qur'an, it is a witness for you. Subhanallah. Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. Beautiful, rhetorically beautiful. The choice of words in the surah and how the surah in very few ayat is laid out. Now, inshallah ta'ala, the last comments about this descent. And one of the things, what this has to do with the da'wah of the Qur'an. This is by majority opinion, almost consensus, this is a Makki surah. It's a Makki surah. And you know, when you read about the fada'il and the benefits and the virtues of a night of worship, these virtues are usually talked about and learned by believers. Who doesn't benefit from any of this? Disbelievers. They have no value for what Laylatul Qadr is. They have no appreciation for it. They're not going to go and ask the messenger, tell me more about Laylatul Qadr. Right? They're not going to tell. Who is learning these things? Believers. But in the Meccan context, who is the primary audience? Is the primary audience, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, believers, or are they disbelievers? They're disbelievers. It's interesting that it's a Makki surah, where the audience isn't interested in hearing what this is, and yet this remarkable ayat that you would think pertain predominantly not to disbelievers but to believers have come down. We have to fix this paradox, or at least understand some things about it, inshallah ta'ala. This has to do with a subject that has come up many times before in our discussion, and that is the integrity of the Qur'an. In the previous surah, the messenger is being attacked, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, by the ignorant, Abu Jahl. If he doesn't stop, Allah has threatened him. Allah has told him not to be distracted by his insults, by his attacks. You know, in da'wah is kind of like sales. You're trying to give somebody a message, and you're trying to hope that they accept it. Just like you're trying to give somebody a product, hoping they will buy it. It's kind of like that. Not exactly, but kind of. But in sales, who's in a position of power? The salesman or the customer? Who's got the power? Yeah, it's called buying power, right? The customer's got the power. Now, the salesman sometimes seems desperate to sell. And the customer, he knows that the sales guy is desperate, so he could milk him a little. No, throw in navigation system, throw in this, throw in that. Now he wants to make sort of, more demands. He feels like he's in a position of power, and this guy is desperate. He wants to sell it to me, right? Now, I'm not really talking about sales. In da'wah, the messenger is desperately giving the message to these people. When they hear the desperation in the messenger and the concern in the messenger's face, what do they start thinking? They start thinking they're like the customer. They're in a position of power. They're in a position of power. But Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't accept this. Allah Azza wa Jal makes sure that the messenger himself knows that he is never in a position of weakness. He is always in a position of power. And he is in no desperation to sell this to them. If they take it, it's their benefit. If they don't take it, whose loss? Their own loss. He loses nothing. The only reason the messenger is concerned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is because of his love of humanity, his love and genuine concern. But he is under no desperation to want to turn them to the deen. He doesn't need to be. And it's what he has is not something you have to try hard to sell. After all, this is so noble, it was sent down when? In Laylatul Qadr. This book was sent down at no ordinary time. It was sent down in Laylatul Qadr. You know what Laylatul Qadr is? These ayat are giving us an appreciation of how awesome the Qur'an is. The Qur'an, you don't need to, the ayah previous surah ended, كَلَّا لَا تُطِعْهُ. Don't pay attention to him. Don't follow him. Don't worry about him, basically. Don't worry about him. And now this ayah is saying, worry about what? Qur'an instead. You've been given something so noble, so remarkable. You don't need to present it in a desperate fashion to anyone. You don't need them, they need it. And if they don't take it, they're lost. They missed out on 1,000 months of worship. They missed out on something that Allah sent on this most remarkable night. So you have something dignified before you. These people are not worth your time. If they don't want to pay attention, they're not worth your time. And this happens over and over again in the Qur'an, by the way. Whenever Allah talks about the arrogant, He comes back. كَلَّا إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ فَمَنْ شَاءَ ذَكَرَهُ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ قُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. Tell them the truth comes from your master. Whoever wants they can believe, whoever wants they can disbelieve. Your loss, basically. Even in Surah Abasa. كَلَّا إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ. The Qurayshi leader, the messenger was worried he won't get the message. Allah said, no. This is a reminder. Whoever wants they can remember. They can get lost if they don't want to remember. That's fine. فَمَنْ شَاءَ ذَكَرَهُ. Because this is something very high. You don't need to sell it to them. They should want to come up to it. They should be honored by the fact that they get to hear something that came down in Laylatul Qadr. It's a gift to them. They should be in sajda before Allah that they got to hear the word of Allah. They should be the most grateful because they not only get to hear the word of Allah, in the next surah we're going to learn, not only do they get to hear the word of Allah, they get to hear it from the messenger of Allah. رَسُولٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ يَتْلُو صُحُفًا مُطَهَّرًا. They should be the most grateful. You don't have to be desperate. If they're not accepting you, they're the most vicious of the vicious. So we learn two things from this. Those who accepted the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we already know this, they're the best of the best. They're the best of all generations. And the kuffar who rejected the messenger are the worst of the worst. You're not going to get worse kuffar than the kuffar of the time of the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ones who reject Islam today, what are they rejecting? The book. The ones who rejected Islam then, what were they rejecting? The book and who? The messenger to his face. It's twice the crime. It's twice the crime. Those are the worst kinds of people. So don't pay attention to them. Subhanallah. Once again, just to tie the two surahs together, the previous surah ended, وَاقْتَرِبْ, come close. Come close. What's the best opportunity to come close to Allah? Laylatul Qadr. The entire surah is the opportunity for you to come close to Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's like it gives you a manual. Now that I've commanded you to come to close, how do you come close to me? And the whole discourse has revolved around the Qur'an in both surahs. Began with Iqra. It began with Iqra. This surah, Inna anzalnahu. Then Fajr at the end, which is again, Inna Qur'an al-Fajri kana mashhuda. The Qur'an of Fajr prayer is certainly that which will be witnessed. One last riddle we'll solve, inshallah ta'ala. We'll move on. It's a minor issue. But because we're living in the scientific age, sometimes people try to poke science into the Qur'an. They say, well, if it's Laylatul Qadr in Pakistan, but then it's daytime over here, so which one's the right Laylatul Qadr? Right? And they try to do things like, and then silly people come out and say, well, the Day of Judgment, if it's the Day of Judgment, and it's the day in Africa, what about Europe? Is it going to be later on over there? Right? People say, they try to use science to try to poke holes. You know how beautifully Allah answers these things? SubhanAllah. The earth on the Day of Judgment will what? وَإِذَا الْأَرْضُ مُدَّتْ. It's flattened out. It's flattened out. There's no night and day anymore. It's gone. And how do you tell night and day? Sun and moon, right? What happens on the Day of Judgment? وَجُمِعَ الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ. Sun and moon are collapsed into each other. So there's your concept of night and day, what you think of as night, what you think of, that's all gone on that day. These are silly things that people use to ridicule the religion, really. But we should be more careful when we talk about the deen. Similarly, this issue of Laylatul Qadr, because it's just night, Allah didn't include the day. Some Mufassirun said it includes the day, because in Arabic literature, when you say Layla, it can include the day and the night. And if you say Nahar, it includes the night and the day. That's the only difference. When you say Layla, it's night, then the next day. When you say Nahar, it's day and the next night. That's the only difference, right? So that's one explanation. The other is, you know how the night travels? Like the sun travels, right? And as the sun is traveling, what's trailing behind it is the night, right? So Laylatul Qadr lasts, it goes this revolution around the entire earth. So it's not, that's one big continuum. It's one big continuum, opportunity after opportunity to catch Laylatul Qadr. There's no contradiction here, subhanAllah, right? May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the blessing of seeing Laylatul Qadr and taking full advantage of it in the coming year. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those who already found Laylatul Qadr in the Ramadan that just passed. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless all of us with the recitation of Qur'an and the love of it and a correct understanding of it. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.